I said two words. Have you ever been in a meeting or had a conversation with somebody and when you finished it, you left and you said, what the heck just happened? It reminds me of the time we had a meeting years ago. I worked for a big company, and we had a sales trainer. They hired a sales trainer to train us, to help us with some of the nuances and things in sales. And so one of the questions they asked during the meeting is, what were we struggling with? What's one of the biggest hurdles we're having? And of course, nobody said anything. Everybody's being real quiet and everything. I said, you know what? I do have an issue. So it reminded me of a situation. I rose my hand and I said, Thai guys. My boss looked at me like, when a dog turns their head like that? I'll never forget. And I said, oh man, I better explain myself. He goes, Thai guys, what do you mean Thai guys? So obviously it struck a chord. And pretty much what I meant was, with Thai guys, situation, reflect back to my dad. He was a cattleman, and he had a really nice office. He ran a big feedlot where they raised cattle for meat cattle. And he had a big Texas Longhorn head on the wall and a big steer hide and leather furniture, really nice office. And I was sitting in there as a little kid, about 5 years old. Guy came in through the door and he said, hey Bob, how's it going? And he handed my dad a cigar. And the guy was just standing there. My dad looked at him and he took the cigar and just crumpled it up in the trash can. He said, you know what, get out of my office. And of course there was some colorful words said, and the guy said, Bob, what's going on? So they had a conversation. I don't know what they talked about. But after my dad, after he left, I asked my dad what happened, and he said, well, son, that was a salesman, and he sold us some goods. I don't remember what it was, but he said that he didn't follow through with his promises. So basically my dad fired him as a vendor. So getting back to the story, it's reminding me of it. And we're talking about when I'm talking about a driver personalities are one of the four personality styles. There's drivers, there's amiables, there's expressives, and there's analyticals. Drivers are personality styles that when you talk to them, they just want you to get directly to the point. Amiables are more relationship oriented. They want a relationship before they make a decision. Expressives want you to bring energy, excitement. Analyticals want data. They're data driven. So they want data. They don't want to, talk about anything else. They want data before they make a decision. So anyway, this started a whole dialogue in the meeting. It was really a good meeting, and people learned a lot. It's something that I knew about these personality styles, but I didn't really understand them. I didn't really know how to identify them. So they helped us understand how to identify them. So when you're having a conversation with somebody, you want to determine what their personality style is. Not necessarily in a normal conversation, but if you're trying to sell something to somebody, or you're trying to talk to somebody to get something done, you want to be able to talk to them in their personality style. You're going to get a lot further if you can do that. So as I said, talking to a driver, you got to get to the point. If you're talking to an analytical, you got to slow down and bring the data. If you're talking to an expressive, you got to bring energy. And an amiable, you got to build a relationship with them. So it doesn't mean that you're a bad communicator. It just means that nobody ever showed you this. If you didn't know, how do you know? How do you know how to talk to these people? So as I shared, it didn't go the way when I said Thai guys the way I wanted it to go. So it's communication. You gotta have clarity, and you gotta know who you're talking to so you can know how to talk to them. You weren't wrong. You were just speaking a different language. So if anybody of you guys out there have anything to share in this regard, like if you've ever had a situation where you've talked to somebody and you're saying, hey, you know what? I blew it on that one because I didn't really qualify the guy. I didn't qualify his personality style. So, like I shared, it's really important. So if anybody got any suggestions or comments to throw my way, feel free. Chime in. I'd really like to hear how you handled a situation, and maybe what the outcome was. Let me know. So anyway, that's my story for the day. I hope this helps people understand that if you're not communicating in the style that you're of the person you're talking to, you're going to struggle. And once you nail this, it opens up a lot of doors. So anyway, have a great evening, and we'll catch you on the next video.